Welcome to Fear Babes Podcast, a paranormal podcast founded and hosted by Fear fan members.
All thoughts and opinions are strictly our own, and we are not affiliated with any shows in any way.
My name is Burgundy.
My name is Madeline.
And we are
the Fear Babes. Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of Fear Babes Podcast.
Fear Babes Podcast.
The podcast where we
Of the babes.
And we talk like children, and we also don't talk like children because we cuss a lot, and we do the thing.
Listen, man. We both were up late last night, and now we're doing this early because we had shit to do today. So, also, I woke up like 20 minutes ago, and I sound like morning voice still, and also a bit like I have allergies.
Same.
But what did we do last night, Matt's boy? We did Fear Babes After Dark, and we did a Zoom recording of a makeup look. A Halloween tutorial, if you will.
It was pretty chaotic, to be honest with you. Berg's turned out really well. Mine was just kind of like, all right, whatever. But it was still really cool to do.
I thought yours was good, like, considering that you never do stuff like that.
True.
Yeah, it could be way worse. You could look like you put a bunch of watercolor on your face or something.
That's true. Very
or
true.
Like a 5-year-old did it. At least it looked like how it was supposed to look, you know?
Right, exactly. But it was fun. That's all that matters, is the experience was great. So
yeah,
it was really fun. So check out our Patreon if you want to see the full video.
Yeah, do that. Do that thing. The thing where you go to the Patreon and you look at it and you watch it.
Exactly.
I'm not awake yet.
Me neither. But today we are covering Destination Fears episode at Sweet Springs and Project Fears episode at Sweet Springs. And we're just going to discuss, maybe some similarities, differences, whatever comes to mind based off of our notes and things that we noticed when we were watching the episodes. So,
Matt.
Yes?
Matt, I know exactly where we should start.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Ready? My name is Dakota Layden.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's the perfect place to start.
Bro, the intro. I totally forgot about, I didn't, but I did at the same time, it's like a whole nostalgic thing. The catch is, I'm the only one that knows where we're going.
Dude, it was crazy because I was like, oh my gosh. And the intro alone shows the growth of them, because not that there was anything wrong with it. It's a pretty standard intro for Travel Channel, but it was just kind of crazy to see it again. Because we had that shit memorized. It was memorized.
It was the moment Dakota was like, my name is, everybody in the room is like, my name is Dakota. Are we being brainwashed right now?
That's exactly how it happened, dude.
Yeah.
No fucking lie. That's exactly how it happened. It was just
there was a point where I would recite the whole thing. We got to episode 8 and I was reciting the whole thing and my parents were like, tell me how often you watch Destination Fear.
You know what's funny though? Is when I was watching this intro and he was saying that, I was like, it's just it naturally came back to me, and I was like,
yeah, you did the whole thing with him, right?
My name is Dakota Layden.
You go back into a trance. You're like, my name is Dakota Layden.
What just happened?
I had an idea. A psychological experiment. You're like, what's going on? And then it's over and you're like, what just happened? What year is it?
I know. It's like waking up from a dream.
Snap out of your trance. What's going on right now? That's so funny.
But it is important to like state that in the Sweet Springs episode, season 1, episode 3, where where Destination Fear is at Sweet Springs.
Mm-hmm.
That whole entire first season, only Dakota knew where they were going.
The catch is, I'm the only one that knows where we're going.
So, per the intro, literally, he was the only one that knew. The other crew members had no idea. They may had like some sort of inclination, but they, for the most part, didn't have any idea. So, that's such a crazy concept to me now.
Can you just like imagine the like level of trust that has to go into that?
I know. I don't know if I would trust them, but
fucking wild, bro. Like, I don't know, Dakota, I feel like your experiment is more of a test of how strong of friendships you've built over the course of your life.
Exactly. And like, I don't know. It was just so, I liked that idea a lot. But it was definitely, it definitely like added a tone to it to make it more scary in a way. Cause like, obviously we as the viewers knew when we would sit down, okay, they're going to Sweet Springs Sanatorium, but like living vicariously through the other crew members and like finding out and like being on the edge of your seat when they open the packet, they're like, no, or oh, ooh, you know what I mean? Like that was always so fun to watch.
Well, that's what I kind of like about Project Fear now is like, you know, we know they're going to the UK in this next upcoming season, but like, I don't know what locations they went to.
Me neither.
And I kind of like that.
Me too, actually.
You know, on Travel Channel, it was like, next week on Destination Fear, Sweet Spring, you know what I mean? It's not like, I mean, they didn't have commercials and stuff the first season, but like, it was always leaked prior to them coming out with it, so.
Exactly. And another thing, too, that I really wanted to emphasize is that in the first season, especially, the tone of all of them was so incredibly serious. They could not smile, could not crack a joke, like, because that's what Travel Channel wanted.
No, I'm just kidding.
No, exactly. Exactly.
When you do look at the camera, look like you're about to cry, though.
Exactly. And see, what we found out later, and Dakota has said this publicly, is that Travel Channel would give them notes every time they would finish an episode, like roughly, if my recollection is correct. And when they did that, they would tell them, like, they had to find something wrong. So they would say, you guys are you're being too funny. Like, you can't be funny. You need to be more serious.
Yeah.
Or like stuff, anything that was along that line. Like, they were very dedicated to the seriousness of the episodes. Like, they were, and I don't understand that, because to me, I feel like it makes it seem harder to watch and less enjoyable to watch as a viewer.
Once you've gotten the whole package, like once you know how it can be now, it definitely is. You're like, oh,
yeah,
okay,
exactly. Cool. And that was what I was going to say too, is that like versus Project Fear, it's like that's a big difference, and it does make it harder to watch. Like, genuinely.
I was gonna add, so Sweet Springs Project Fear was the first ever episode of Project Fear, right? So you're speaking on the notes of how Travel Channel kind of like was like, you can't be too funny, you know, you have to be more serious, blah, blah. So then what happens when they get Project Fear? They're on YouTube and they're all on their own. First episode ever, fucking chaotic as shit. Like,
exactly.
Dakota literally licked the mirror.
Like from the opening.
Tanner's like, I'm uncomfy right now.
Dude, that shit was wild.
Thing.
Like, I highly recommend you guys, our listeners, to do what we did if you're able. Actually, I don't know how did you watch Destination Fear?
Philo.
Okay, I watched Destination Fear from HBO Max. So, because of, you know, all the Warner Brothers and all that conversion. Yeah, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So I was able to watch it from HBO Max. If you guys like have the resources to watch Destination Fear and then to watch Project Fear, let me just tell you, I would love to hear your guys' thoughts on the jump of how dramatically different it is.
Yep.
And plus, I wanted to say, like, they looked like babies.
Yeah. I was like, wow. Okay. Tell me it's been 5 years without telling me it's been 5 years. Like, shit.
Exactly.
Cool. Yeah, I think Philo is, because Philo has Travel Channel on it, you can go back and watch old Travel Channel shows on Philo. So they have Yeah. They have all of Destination Fear on there.
Yeah, I liked that I didn't have to purchase like another app or like do a free trial or a subscription or whatever to watch it. Like it was already on an app or through a subscription service that I already like used. So I was like, fuck yes, dude. Like it made me so happy. Right. But yeah. Anyway, highly encourage you guys to rewatch that because it's fucking wild.
Dude, so next topic, I think we're just going to start at the beginning of both episodes and work our way through it. It's kind of how we're taking this. But the first thing, well, not the first thing, fourth thing that we're on now, I think we really need to talk about the biggest difference I've seen this whole time. Are you ready, Mads?
Ready.
Alex's hair.
I know. I was like, what the fuck? Like, what is happening? But not just Alex's hair, but I do also want to give context for those of you guys who may not have watched Destination Fear from the beginning or may not know like the lore behind it all. But when Destination Fear first began, Travel Channel wanted Dakota as the lead, Chelsea and Tanner, and that was it. They only wanted 3 people.
Yeah, see, I'm glad you brought that up because I was going to be like, we need to talk about the fact that, like, Dakota just, like, slyly sneaks Alex in to Destination Fear over every episode, and then he just kind of morphs into, like, he basically went from extra cameraman to 4th crew member.
Exactly, because if you notice, like, and I noticed this especially when I was watching Sweet Springs, I was like, okay, Alex is very much behind the camera. Like he's not talking. He's not doing the packet reads. Like I remember when he eventually did do the packet reads that it was such a big deal for all of us, like DFAM, because we were like, he's doing a packet read.
Yeah.
And I don't remember what season that was. Was it season 2 or 3?
I think, yeah. But season 2 is when he really actually became like a 4th member. And then everybody's pissed because he wasn't in the intro. And Dakota's like, I understand, but like with TV shows, they don't really let you do redo the intro until like 3 or 4 seasons in, blah, blah, blah.
Exactly. And they didn't. They did not.
I always remember, like, I used to actually get like, I don't know. So anybody who knows me close enough in the Fear Fam world knows that I'm always like weirdly defensive for Alex. Right, Mads?
I was about to say, yup.
But I always remember like feeling bad. I always felt like he was the underdog and he didn't get enough appreciation.
Yeah, he really didn't at first. And that, like, to me is such a hard concept to like try to get back into that 2019 mindset because like getting to know all these, and I'm saying this like, obviously this is like reality, like a reality show to some extent, but it's also a performative show to some extent, right? So like, because it has to be view worthy. So
yeah, you want people to watch it. Like
exactly. And so I don't know, the whole thing with Alex, just thinking of him not being a part of the crew, or they didn't want, meaning Travel Channel didn't want Alex to be a part of the crew originally. It's kind of hard to like grasp that concept for sure because he's been so involved in the other seasons throughout Project Fear. Like he's just been the 4th member and everybody doesn't think twice about that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So thinking about a time where he wasn't, it's like really hard.
Yeah. But I mean, let's like another thing that maybe not be thought about as much as it should be is like the pure creative genius of Dakota to be able to like weasel him in, you know what I mean? Like, cause Travel Channel's like, no, it's just the three of you, and Dakota's like, fucking bet, bro. And Alex ends up being a part of it anyways. And like, while they were filming, Dakota made that happen. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like that's wild.
Not only that though, Dakota was able to get like all of his friends in.
Mm-hmm.
Like people don't know
Connor,
that, but
Alex Nelson, like
yeah, all of his friends were a part of Destination Fear.
Mm-hmm.
Alex Nelson, for those of you guys who don't know, if you don't know Alex Nelson, please go look at his photography. It's incredible.
I miss Nelson. I miss him.
I know. It just seems so weird now that he's just not.
I know.
I'm just like, what? And not in a bad way. You know, like things happen.
Yeah.
Whatever, but not in a bad way. I don't know the story. I'm just saying, like.
Whatever. Sometimes he streams on Twitch, and so when Project Fear came out, and he was like, I don't know the most safe way to put it. When they separated, it was like on good terms. Like Nelson was like, "Hey, so for like TV production, photography is part of the package. So I was thankful to be a part of all of that, but they don't need that for YouTube." He's like, "If they ever do need it, of course I would love to, but they don't need it, which is fine," like type of thing.
Right. So it was just more of like, in which I knew that, like, obviously they're still friends, but it's just like, you know, you move somewhere else, you do your own thing. That doesn't change the friendship. It's just whatever. But, it's just the fact that Dakota rallied for all of his friends. He's like, okay, well, if I'm a part of this, so are they.
He's like, you can have
there's
me,
a way.
but you have to have this person, this person, this person, this person, and this one too. That's it.
Yep.
We're a package deal. Like,
oh, and you know what else I forgot?
Yeah.
They also didn't want Chelsea.
Yeah, that is true.
They did not want Chelsea. And that was because she was studying to be a doctor. Yeah. And you guys, if you listen to our episode with Chelsea, you can hear a little bit about how she struggled with studying on the road while also juggling or Destination Fear. But what I don't understand is she always made a way. It may have not been when they wanted it to be, meaning Travel Channel, but she always made a way.
Yeah, because Chelsea's a fucking badass. The network had a whole different, like, cast lined up for this. Obviously Dakota was part of it, but they had different specific people they wanted to do it with him. And he rode so hard for his friends. He was like, absolutely not, which is great, but I'm not going to, like, out. I don't think Dakota, I think he's, like, mentioned it very briefly, but I don't think he's ever, like, mentioned who. So that's not my story to tell. I'm not going to say anything else about that topic. But yeah, Chelsea was definitely not on the network's list to begin with.
Yeah, it's such a crazy thing to think about. But seriously, like, so keep in mind, like, the reason why we're saying all this stuff is because it was so, like, the lore behind season 1 is so necessary to, like, understand why things were portrayed the way that they were. And again, it was never bad content. It never was. It was never. It's just more of the fact that it's just kind of mind-blowing in comparison, you know? And it just puts an emphasis on the freedom that they have obtained through doing YouTube. So just keep that in mind as we go forward reviewing these episodes.
I mean, listen, Destination Fear was good. Don't get me wrong. But Destination Fear walked so Project Fear could run.
Exactly.
Like, I know the journey was a lot, and a lot of us took it really hard. And I can't even imagine being the crew themselves and getting canceled. But I'm so glad that it happened and that they're on YouTube now.
Yeah, me too. And just to think that that was at the beginning of last year in 2023.
Fucking wild, bro.
And it's like so much development has happened since then. Like so much growth. They were able to go to the UK and do their dream like trip. Like, and they spent the whole first part of this year, and we're going to start seeing these episodes in the next week, beginning on Halloween, which I'm really fucking pumped for. But yeah, I don't know. I'm really proud of them for their growth.
Yeah, me too.
Next topic.
So in Sweet Springs episode of Destination Fear, when they were like on their way to the Sweet Springs, Dak's like, "Well, Chels, why are you doing this? Oh, Tanner, why are you doing this?" Do you remember that? So yes. Tanner was saying that he wanted to test himself, and he wanted to find out if he'd be like the first person to run toward the door, or if he would stand and protect himself, type of thing. And I was like, first of all, the foreshadowing is fucking wild.
Right, exactly.
Second of all, Season 1, Episode 3, Destination Fear Sweet Springs, is when BDT was truly born. Like,
he was born from the womb of the Destination Fear.
The womb of facing your fears. The womb of hearing somebody talking that isn't apparently there. Like, the fuck?
I can't wait to get into that because it's one of those, like, rewatching it, it's just as haunting as I remembered it to be.
Oh, God.
Like, I just, no, oh my God, I can't wait to get there. I can't wait to get there. But,
so scary.
It really is. And the fact that they caught that in their third location of this TV show, like, what the fuck?
I know.
That's wild.
So funny. It's so funny because, like, so for Halloween, at work, we're gonna do our happy hour, and I've been telling everybody, I'm like, we should watch Project Fear.
It's like, come on, guys, please.
We're gonna paint pumpkins and stuff. I was like, let's have a paranormal party. Let's watch Project Fear when we paint our pumpkins. So every time I ask people, I'm like, what episode should I like? You know, because we're trying to get more people into it, type of thing. So it's like, which one do you think will everyone, Sweet Springs. Everybody's like, Sweet Springs. Do 100%. Sweet Springs. It's if they don't say Sweet Springs, it's on their list. They're like, this one, or Sweet Springs. I'm like, okay, I got it. Yeah. Everybody's obsessed with Sweet Springs.
Between Trans-Allegheny, Sweet Springs.
But I don't have Philo at work, so it's got to be a Project Fear episode. So.
Oh, shit. Yeah, that's true. I know. But yeah, I mean, this episode is always up there for Destination Fear, and it's because it's just so
memorable,
unbelievable, and memorable, and just everything that you would want a paranormal show to be. It was exactly that. Like, for an episode of a certain location, it was perfect for TV because it was just so unbelievable. It was so scary. I just, even now, I'm just kind of like, oh, whoa, that's fucking scary.
Exactly. So let's dive into their experiences at Sweet Springs in both Destination Fear and Project Fear.
Let's go. Well, let me just start by saying, one thing that I found interesting. Now, okay, I know you said really quick about that we're trying to get into the evidence, but I just wanted to really quickly say that before they got there, they always used to do interviews with people who had experiences at the locations.
Yeah.
They don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize that. Yeah, I didn't realize that until I saw it again. And I was like, what?
Wait a minute.
Fuck. But it was interesting to hear those like experiences of what people encountered at the location, because that was haunting within itself. And some people, I mean, every paranormal experience is different. Some people may have the most wild ass experience at the same location, and you could get absolutely nothing.
Yeah, I don't. So that's funny that you bring that up. So last weekend I went ghost hunting at Fort Casper.
Yeah.
It was funny because we did 2. So you can do the grounds, the graveyard, and the buildings. And so they do 3 different types of tours. And so we did 2 of them that night because they do from 7 to 10:40 every 20 minutes. One is leaving. So we did 2. And in between them, we were walking back with our guide from the first one. And Dawn, my dad, he's like, oh, so do you have like different areas that are more like active than others? And the guide's like, it really just depends. And I was like, Dawn, ghosts are not scheduled. Like, they just happen when they happen.
It's true though. They just happen.
You can't predict it. Like,
but it is kind of a valid question too, because I do think that there are, like, for instance, at Sweet Springs, clearly one of the most active locations is down there in the basement area where Chelsea and Tanner were. Because when they revisited in Project Fear...
Same thing.
Yeah, it was like the same thing. So I think that's a valid question, but it is true. Obviously, it's not scheduled. So it's just one of those things where I wish that, like, I could experience, like, the whole knockdown, drag out kind of shit. Mm-hmm. Some spirits, like some people do. They're like, it pushed me. I'm like, damn it, I want that to happen.
Well, they told us too. They said that because they had removed specific trees, the week before on the grounds. And so they're like, that's kind of ramped up the activity a little bit. And then,
I was about to say.
Yeah, so obviously other like things can be factors and whatnot, but
ooh, fun.
Yeah.
When you guys were there, was it active?
So like the most interesting thing to me was I could smell horses.
Huh.
I know. Do you know how horses have that very specific horse smell?
Yes. Yes.
I was like, I asked the guide, I was like, are there horses in this general vicinity? Because there's like a campground nearby, and I don't know. In Wyoming, you just never know. Like, people can bring their horses to campgrounds. Okay. So
that's true.
She's like, no. And I was like, I smell horses. She was like, yeah, you're not the first one to report that today. And I was like,
that's interesting. But so cool.
Yeah, and then they start you in like what would have technically been like a general store, and then also somebody's living quarters, just so they can like walk you through the equipment and how to use it really fast and whatnot. Mm-hmm. And the bedroom area, I don't know, my mom and I went in there, and I was like, Mom. She's like, I know. I was like, but Mom. She's like, I know. And I was like, he's over there on the bed. And she's like, yeah, he's sitting on the bed. And I was like, you could just feel this overwhelming presence. And then the other, like, there's like 10 people per group, I think. And so there's 4 people that came together. They had the spirit box, and they went in there, and they were getting responses. But Mom really felt like it was just trying to talk. Like, it wasn't answering their questions, but then she would ask a question and it would answer for her.
That is so fascinating.
Yeah.
But I really like stuff like that.
Yeah. And then we went over to like kind of where they would consider the battleground areas where I smelled the horses. And yeah, we just kept like feeling things, but we got to get our audio recorder. So they had the digital recorder and they record the whole time, and I carried it around for a while, and we asked them questions. We have to email them and get our audio from that. So I'll let you know if anything comes of that. Because Mom's like, I want to know who has the dog. And I was like, what's your horse's name? Because I couldn't, it just was overwhelming smell of horses, dude. I couldn't get past it. I was like, what is going on? And then
that's crazy.
They had this little jail cell. It was just like a 2-bunk jail cell. It was very tiny, but I would walk in it and I was so dizzy I could not stay in there for like 20 seconds. So then I walked out and it was totally fine. And then I'd go back in. Dizzy. So dizzy. I was like, I can't be in here.
And see, that same dizziness happened to us when we were at Pinhurst, and I did not like that.
Yeah, it's a weird feeling. I don't like it at all. Okay, but my favorite part was, so the second part, when we did the second tour, we did the buildings, and they took us to the one of the buildings that originally was the museum, and it has like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rooms, I think. So we went past, like, people played checkers with the ghosts in there and stuff. So we went past, that's like the middle room, and then there was like this, dining area type of setup looking thing, and then a room with some bunk beds and a fireplace. And so in there was kind of heavy. And then we went back into the dining room area, and Dawn, so they had REM pods set up, and there was one on the table, and Dawn sits down on one of the other tables, and he is like, okay, so in the spirit of really getting involved, I just want you to know that I am very much a skeptic. And he keeps talking, but the REM pod started going off. It was like, and it scared me because I was standing with my back to it. So I turned around and I was like, what the fuck? And then Mom's like, the REM pod. And I was like, I know. Dawn couldn't fucking hear it.
Really?
Yeah. I was like, Dawn, you don't hear it? He's like, no. Is it a high-pitched frequency? And I was like, yeah. He's like, I can't hear it. And I was like, it's literally as he said, I'm a skeptic. It was like,
they're like, bet, bitch.
Yeah. And then he didn't fucking hear it. So that was the coolest evidence, but also very disappointing that Dawn didn't actually hear it himself.
I know. What the fuck?
Yeah. So I was like, shit. Okay.
Dawn, old man Dawn.
I do have one photo that I possibly found something, so I'll send that to you too.
Sick.
Yeah. Anyways, back to Project Fear and Destination Fear.
It's cool to hear that though, because like we haven't had a chance to talk about it this week since like everything has just been so chaotic in our lives.
Yeah.
So that's cool.
I have another one tonight too, so
well, yeah, brother.
Yeah. So I'll keep you posted.
Okay, so back to Sweet Springs.
Back to Sweet Springs.
Which is just as scary, if not more. I thought it was so funny that Chelsea and Dakota, right before, I think it was while they were, they separated like in the teams to just kind of scope out the place. And Chelsea and Dak were like, we're the biggest chickens. Mm-hmm. Like, admittedly, like up front, we're the biggest chickens. But something else that I wanted to say really quick is Chelsea's screaming over everything. Like, she was so scared at first. Mm-hmm. Like, in that first season, I remember people being so mean to Chelsea because they were like, why do you have to scream over everything?
Because she's scared, bro. That's how like fucking bodies react to shit.
Like, exactly. She's fucking scared. Yeah. She is scared. And like the fact that she doesn't do that anymore is so crazy to me.
I know.
But like, she's a seasoned paranormal explorer at this point. But she wasn't then. And people fail to remember that. She was like, that was the whole point. And why they even did this to begin with. Is so like they could test just how far they could go with their fear. So
I'm telling y'all
that
right
was
now,
funny.
If Fear Babes ever goes, I will probably be screaming a lot. Okay, so just FYI, I'm just gonna put that out there right now. Okay.
You want to know something really quick? Really quick. We went to the mountains last weekend and we stayed in the cutest old house that was built in 1937.
Did it have ghostesses?
Well, here's the thing. So I walked in there and I was like, this reminds me of grandma's house before it became my mom's house. Like the smell, all that kind of stuff. Not a bad thing. It's just old houses have a certain smell. I live in an old house, but when I live in it every day, that smell kind of gets lost on you. So this one just had a traditional, like, really old smell because it's not frequented every day. And because of that, like, I was like, wow, I really like this place. And so Mom was like, I'm scared. And I was like, why? And she was like, I'm afraid I'm going to see some fucking ghosts. And Janice and her sister Sarah and Tamara, they were all like, well, Tamara was more like, well, if we do, we do. But Janice and Sarah were like, no! And Mom, Janice, and Sarah were terrified. Anyway, long story short, I was passed the fuck out asleep. And me and my mom shared a room. And I was just sleeping, doing my own thing. And Mom woke me up in the middle of the night. Okay. Mm-hmm. She never does that. And she goes, Madeline. I was like, what? And she was like, that closet door just opened.
No.
And I was like,
no,
well, I was like, well, it's whatever. That's fine. And she's like, Madeline, it opened. That sounds familiar. But she was like,
dude, it
opened. And I was just like, nah, I don't care. And she's like, are you serious? And I was like, Mom, I am tired. I don't care. I'm used to ghosts. I'm used to things all the time. Just leave me alone. And I turned back over and fell asleep. And it was so just funny. The funniest thing ever. So I truthfully, like, when I say, I'm not saying that I won't be scared. I'm just saying that I'm just kind of more nonchalant about it than I think I play myself out to be. Because it's just like, what?
Yeah. I will tell you, it's so funny because previous to Project Fear, I probably would have been the same as your mom. Like, I'm scared I'm going to see a ghost. And now I'm like, I want to see a ghost.
Me too. Yeah.
Like, we went to this ghost hunt, and I was like, we're like walking in from the parking lot, and I was just like running like circles around my mom. And I was like, we're going to find ghostesses. We're going to find ghostesses. We're going to find ghostesses. Like a little child.
Because it's so fun. And like, we don't get to do it that often.
Yeah. And I was like so excited. And then I told my mom, I was like, because we were doing all this stuff and we had like an EMF detector, a spirit box, a digital recorder. And I was like, because you know how we joke about like, if we ever get to investigate with them, I was like, you know what? I'm still probably going to shit my pants if that ever happens. Because we were out in the field and they do have like a some light, and so it's not like pitch black like when Project Fear goes into buildings and stuff. And so it wasn't like pitch black or anything like that. So I'm like, that would probably freak me out, to be honest.
Definitely.
But still, I was excited.
When I went to the Charleston jail, it was completely pitch black dark.
Yeah, no, that's spooky.
Yeah, it was. I'm not going to lie to you.
No, thanks. We'll see what tonight is like at the Elks.
That'll be cool.
Yeah. Okay, anyways.
I was waiting on you to say.
Back on track. So where did you were talking about when they were splitting off into groups. So really quick, in the true Fear Bits fashion of making fun of Dakota, when they first pulled up to Sweet Springs in Destination Fear, and Dakota's like, how are we going to do this? Like, bro, you picked the fucking place. You picked it.
Exactly.
Why are you, what? How are we gonna do this? Well, I don't know, man, but it's all on you, so fucking figure it out.
Dude, I thought it was so funny. Oh, you know what else? It was storming when they got to Sweet Springs.
Okay, so I was gonna bring that up too. Is like, do you remember Destination Fear? There was like a solid, like,
yes,
multiple episodes in a row where they just always had a thunderstorm.
Yes, I sure do remember that. And I was like, what the fuck is happening?
Yeah. And that always just made it seem like extra spooky.
Dude, because like when you think about like a show that you watch, like maybe Scooby-Doo, it was always like thunder cracking at a spooky house and like the lightning in the background. And it's just like, this is extra like, scary for no reason.
Yeah, for sure. It's like, what? And I think they've even touched base on it before, but it's like almost like the thunderstorm, the energy from that helps to ramp things up too.
It does. Yeah, for sure.
So when they split up and it was Tanner and Alex, and Chelsea and Dak. And I think Chelsea and Dak were in the basement, and Tanner and Alex were like second floor at least.
I think so.
In the DF episode, and they all heard that same like whale sound.
Yes, I was going to bring that up. It was like a moaning, wailing kind of sound.
Yeah, that one always gets me.
Oh, sorry. It wasn't the second floor. It was the third floor.
Oh, even better. So they're even further apart.
Yeah, exactly.
And they all heard the same thing.
Just as loud and clear.
Yeah.
And it's like, that is literally impossible.
Well, so, they talk about the mimic at Crescent, fast forward like 3 fucking seasons, but I'm almost like, maybe there's a mimic at Sweet Springs, and we'll dive more into that. Yeah, we can dive more into that as we get through all the other evidence, because that obviously comes back around, but it's like, was it, so then you have to go into like, was it one ghost and the mimic to that ghost, or like, do you know what I mean? Like, how do they, 2 are in the basement, 2 are on the 3rd floor, they all heard the same exact thing.
Exactly. Yeah.
Crazy.
Super crazy. And I know that when they eventually went to sleep alone, in Chelsea's sleeping arrangement, the infrared died without her knowing.
Yeah.
So, like, here she is. She's just on her own, and she's like, actually, she had a conversation with Dak prior to like him leaving her alone, and he goes, "Chelsea, do you got this?" And she said, "No, I actually don't."
and then this is the best part, though. There's so much foreshadowing. You fast
forward,
yeah, and you fast forward to like when the main event happens, and then Tanner and Alex are like, "Chelsea, do you want to come with us?" And she's like, "No." Like, "Chelsea, do you have this?" "No, I actually don't." And then is like super strong and hard-headed and just stays alone like a badass the whole fucking time. I was like, Chelsea, what?
But see, like, funny. There's something about like, if I were to be alone, you almost, I feel as though like you develop this sort of solitude, because you're starting to, like, you've spent a couple hours in this place completely alone by yourself, and you're just kind of like, okay, I know my surroundings, I know what's happening.
Yeah,
I would rather stay here than go to, right, exactly. I'd rather stay here than try to explore something that I don't know, or something that's scary. I would rather not. So no.
Like, this 5-foot radius around me feels safe if I leave it.
Exactly. So Chelsea and Tanner, again, like we stated earlier, they were in the basement for their sleeping alone portion. So in Tanner's sleeping arrangement, he's bold. He's always been bold. He had the flashlight out, shining it down the hallway. I would have never done that, but whatever. I would have rather just sat in the dark and just not known what was in the dark than point the damn flashlight.
Now when shit started happening, though, that's a different story.
Exactly. But all of a sudden, you just hear this really clear talking.
Yeah.
And what's odd about that talking is the voice sounds exactly like Tanner.
Yeah. Backtrack to the sleeping alone part really quick. So to compare the two, in Destination Fear, when they were like going to draw who was sleeping where, they look so fucking scared, dude.
They do. And they were so jumpy.
So nervous. And then fast forward to Project Fear episode 1, and they're just like, Dakota in the basement.
I know, that part was so fucking funny.
It's so different, though. There's like entirely a night and day difference between the sleeping alone drawings. Like, obviously they're still nervous and still scared, but like way more animated, way more like used to doing this kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Versus like their third time.
Yeah.
Like, let's not even count Trail to Terror.
I know.
Their third time doing it, and they're just like, I don't want to. And then they have to.
Yeah. And then in Project Fear, they're just like, well, we've done it before. Let's fucking do it again. Whatever.
Exactly. The place that broke us.
Yeah.
Exactly. Oh my god.
Okay, yeah. So anyways, back to Tanner hearing himself in the basement in Destination Fear.
Sorry, I was getting too ahead of myself. I was getting too excited.
You're fine. I just wanted to point that out because I was like, this is pretty interesting.
It really is. It really is. Because later on we see, so not only do we hear the voice or whatever, and Tanner's like, what the fuck?
Mm-hmm.
But then, like, he walks around the entire basement. He checks on Chelsea. Nothing is really going on. I think she heard it, but she was like, I mean, I thought it was you. And
yeah, because it sounded like him.
No. And he was like, all right. So they checked everything, did a sweep. Tanner goes back to his sleeping arrangement. And obviously he's a little bit disturbed because he's like, all right, so I thought that there was a person in the building. There's not.
Yeah, him then, and Alex checked. Couldn't find anybody.
Exactly. Yep. I forgot that Alex was there. Yep. Alex did come and help.
Yeah, because Tanner was like, Alex, get down here right now.
Immediately. Notice how he called Alex and not Dak.
I mean, if I was in Tanner's shoes, probably would do the same thing.
Exactly.
Actually, honestly, I would call Tanner first, but he was the one who was freaking out. So
exactly, and that's Alex when you know
Dak
you
last.
Fucked up.
Yeah. Well, you should probably actually first of all, you should call Chelsea first.
Yeah,
she's like cool, calm, collected.
Yeah, this whole entire time when all this stuff was happening, she was just like, yeah, whatever. But
and I've said this before, me and Chelsea together, we could take on some bad guys. So
yeah, beat the fuck out of somebody.
Chelsea first, then Tanner, then Alex, then Dak. Actually, Chelsea, Tanner, Alex, Connor, and then Dakota.
Exactly. No, Chelsea, Tanner, Alex, Connor, Riley.
Hey, Riley. Dakota. Hey, Riley, I know you're like states away right now, but I need help immediately. Can you please show up real fast?
Oh, God.
Wait. Chelsea, Tanner, Alex, Connor, Riley, the birds and the freaking bats, and then Dakota.
Exactly. Anyways. Oh my god, that's so funny. Like, why?
Lots of birds, several birds, and bats, and then Dakota.
Dakota, he's literally the bottom feeder. Bottom of the food chain, motherfucker.
I have a sneaking suspicion if Dak does still listen to Fear Babes after this episode, he never will again.
Yep, I think so. I think you're right. He's like, what the fuck? Oh, God. Okay. So, after Tanner and Alex sweep the basement, Tanner goes back to his sleeping arrangement and he starts to hear singing. And he was already a little frustrated because he didn't find anything. But then he really gets frustrated when he hears the singing. And he's like, who is there? And we truly see BDT for the first time.
Yeah, I was going to say, and thus BDT was born.
There he is. Yay! He was born. He was born from the spookiness. And everybody starts freaking out at that point because Tanner's like, I'm actually pissed. I'm actually fucking pissed.
Bro, I quoted that for like 2 years straight. Every time I was pissed,
Me too.
I would be like, I'm actually pissed. Yeah, so anyways.
I'm actually pissed.
Yeah. I turned that into a GIF.
Good.
Because I used to, so everybody knows that Melissa makes them now, right? But I used to help make some of them. And so that one, I made that one. You're welcome. Anyways. Keep going.
Thank you
for my service, right? Yeah.
Thank you. Yes. Thank you. All right. So, everybody ends up joining each other down there in the basement because everybody's like, what the fuck? Why is Tanner yelling? Like, this is crazy. Tanner tells them everything. Chelsea's like, yeah, I heard it too, blah, 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 whatever. Then, suddenly, as they sit there, they hear an extremely loud scream. Like, unfathomably loud. Like, it was like,
scream, yeah, that scream terrified me the first time I watched it, the 90th time I watched it, and last week when I watched it. So
same. Did you like my impression of it?
Yeah, do it again. Yeah. And then Chelsea. So, but I would have done the same exact thing. Like, I don't.
Me too.
Yeah. I probably would have fallen off that cot that she was sitting on.
Oh yeah. See,
pissed myself.
That's when I actually would have pissed myself. Like, I would have been like, all right, we're done. It's a wrap. It's a wrap. And they thought so too, because they're like, nope, nope, nope. And so they were like, we're done. We're leaving. Chelsea was exiting the building and she was like, Lord, please protect me. Lord, please protect me, because she was so scared, and rightfully so.
I would be too.
Me too. I mean, like, what the fuck? And then they get up to the outside, and they're on the porch area, and they're discussing their experiences. Daylight is starting to break. And at the time that they're having this discussion, they left their equipment and their sleeping arrangement still, because they just booked the hell out of the shit, you know? Like, they were out. In Tanner's sleeping arrangement area, his camera picked up the scariest thing that still to this day really just freaks me out. But
chanting.
It was chanting. Literal chanting. That's what scared me the most when I watched it the first time. Like, yes, the loud scream was really scary, but the chanting is what always stuck with me.
Yeah.
Because obviously it was near Native American grounds. So part of me wonders if maybe that was that. But it's just the fact that, like, you just don't know, you know, because you couldn't make out any words.
Yep.
And it was really freaky and eerie, and it still gave me cold chills when I watched it last week, hearing it again after a couple years. And I was just in shock again, almost like I had seen it for the first time. It was so clear that that's what was happening.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Truly.
Literally crazy.
They did not survive the full night, guys.
I mean, it's close, because by the time they got outside, it was light out, but...
it was close. But that's how they concluded it, because they were like, we didn't survive the night. I'm like, oh, you kind of did, but...
And that's why they decided to go back for redemption.
Exactly.
Yeah. So fast forward 4.5, 5 fucking years to Project Fear. And
season, quote unquote, season 1.
Episode 1. Yeah, exactly. And you know what I want to know? I want to know if they watched the Sweet Springs Destination Fear before they went back.
I wonder if they did too.
Because they started Project Fear, and they've kind of kept the same format where only one of them knows where they're going. But everybody knew they were going back to Sweet Springs. Like, everybody knew that. So I'm just curious if I was like, would you, if you were them, would you have watched it again? Or would you have just walked in? I mean, they lived it, but still.
I think I would have watched it again out of curiosity. Because that's just the kind of person I am. Like, because, like, sometimes your memories aren't as clear. And see, there's things that they had endured that never made it into the Destination Fear episode. So I would have rewatched it just for the sake of maybe that could have sparked other memories.
Yeah.
For my own personal, like, enrichment before I went, I would have done that.
Yeah.
To benefit myself. Now, it may have amplified the fear in myself, but also, like, they all seemed to be on the same page that they wanted to go back to see what the fuck was happening.
Yeah, redemption, man.
Yeah.
Like, we have to finish this night out. I want to say that I agree with you, but you know how I am, where I'm like, nope, I'm not watching any video I ever was in ever again. So,
yep.
I know.
Yep.
I will not do that. But I feel like maybe I will. I don't know.
Yeah, you never know. I mean,
yeah, because I've never had to be in that situation, so you wouldn't know that, you know, right? But so, like, they arrive at Sweet Springs and they meet up with Cindy, who is like, at least she at least manages the building, right? I don't know. Is she the owner? Or she did manage the building?
I think I don't know. I think we're just gonna go with manager, maybe owner.
Okay, cool. So Cindy, so they meet up with her, and they're outside just talking. And as they're talking, there's a knock on one of the doors that like Alex is leaning against. And then Cindy tells them that she asked the spirits if they know who was coming, and then it said Chelsea, and then Tanner, right?
Yeah, that's disturbing.
Did I remember that properly?
You did.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was like, wait. And I just find that so interesting for everything that comes after.
Yeah, and it really did set the stage for, again, like what we were stating earlier, the whole mimic thing.
Mm-hmm.
Buckle up, buttercups. You're going to see exactly why we're saying that. It's about to get fucked in here. I will say another comparison that I wanted to add from Project Fear to Destination Fear is that they spent a lot more time on the history, and that's because there was 2 hours of content versus 45-ish minutes.
Yeah.
So we really got to see more of why the place was so riddled with just absolute terror, and the history behind it is just so dark and deep and rich. And it's so disturbing when you watch the history of these places and you see how the people were treated.
Yeah.
It's just so fucking sad. Every time.
And then you're like, yep, this is why it's haunted.
Exactly. But I did like that before you said the whole Cindy thing, is that they were able to show us far more. Like what we stated earlier in the episode, they showed their trip to Walmart. They're traveling, just them being normal people, like them just having the best fucking time. And see, me personally, and I know this isn't everybody's thing, and actually when Project Fear first came out, this was a criticism of people that I could not understand or agree with, which whatever, it's your own opinion. That's perfectly fine. Everybody's entitled to it. But I liked seeing them be people before going to a location and having to be somewhat serious and, you know, absorbing all the energy that is so dark and intense. I enjoyed seeing that kind of shit.
Well, the whole point is just watch their experience, right? And so that is part of the experience. Like, they know they're going to this place. They know what they've experienced before. So you have like a little bit of adrenaline, a little bit of nerves, a little bit of excitement, and then you just kind of spaz out, kind of. So, I mean, it's just, personally, I think it adds more to the authenticity of it. But
I was about to say, it truly adds the element of realism.
Yeah.
To who they are. Like, yes, we know that they're investigators. We see that. We have seen that. Okay, great. But who are they outside of what they're doing? Because they are people.
Yeah.
And seeing them be people was personally satisfying to me, because
seeing people them be relatable people.
Relatable, and seeing them be like, they're exactly who they are on camera as they are in real life. And people who haven't met them before, they really got to see their personalities shine through as soon as Project Fear started. So that's the thing that completely changed tone-wise. And it was great. And I still like that element of Project Fear.
Me too. Like, I love, like, they don't do pit stops anymore, but they do show us like Airbnb moments. And sometimes those are my favorite. Like,
same. Because it provides that sort of intimacy that we didn't get when they were traveling in an RV.
Yeah.
That had to be like camera ready, and they had to be serious, and you know, like they could be cracking a joke, but then Dakota had to be like, so guys, tonight we are going to somewhere really scary. Are you scared? Are you scared? Well, you should be.
You scared yet? Scared yet?
Like,
baby scared?
Personally, I don't understand that travel. So, I mean, I really liked Travel Channel when it was on, but I got some beef with the notes that they had to give contractually. Like, they had to give those notes. It's just like, come on, we want to see the real relatable side of them. Like,
what's going on? And like in honesty, if we didn't have like those small moments, those, like you said, the more intimate moments of it all, and the Fear Fam would not be the same. The community would not be the same. The show would not be the same. Like, everybody likes to be like, oh yeah, I'm friends with them. Like, you wouldn't have that element if they didn't like give us that little peek. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So
exactly.
It's always like 6 one way, half dozen the other. Like, you gotta pick one, bro. Like,
exactly.
That's a criticism. I don't agree with it either. But like you said, everybody's entitled to their own opinions. Personally, I prefer it that way, but I get why other people might not too. So
definitely, yeah, for sure. But I guess we should. Did you want anything to add before we get into the spookiness of it all?
No, we can dive into the evidence of Project Fear, Sweet Springs.
Thick.
Thick. It's so thick, man.
Thick. Thick. Oh my god. So Tanner.
This is like, remember last episode? This is the first time I've ever recorded a podcast.
Well, no, it actually is.
This is the second time I've ever recorded a podcast. Like,
literally. And like, you know what's funny is that like, wasn't this was our first reviewed episode, wasn't it? On Fear Babes.
Mm-hmm.
So like, guys, this is kind of like doing a full circle.
Bro, it actually is though, because Sweet Springs Review was our second ever episode of Fear Babes.
Exactly.
Sweet Springs Destination Fear Project Fear is our second episode of season 5 of Fear Babes.
Which is wild. Wild.
And Mads, you want to take it even deeper. Project Fear Destination Fear started 5 years ago. Season 5 Fear Babes.
I didn't think about that, but that's even crazier.
I don't know, man. The universe kind of seems to be universing right now.
The universe be universing.
Anyways, back to it.
All right. Well, but it's true. We're having a full circle moment. Like, yes, we're doing the comparison to that, but like, we were amateurs at one point too. I mean, I still consider us amateurs.
We still are, apparently.
But we were even more amateurs back then, like over a year and a half ago when we first started the podcast and we were reviewing the same episode. So yeah, it's full circle. Oh, this is crazy. But all right. So Tanner he does a solo in the basement. His favorite place ever at Sweet Springs. He's scared, but that man is seasoned. He takes that shit like a fucking champ.
Honestly, I just loved how salty he was about it.
He was mad. He was mad for sure. And you know what? I personally would have like made Dakota go down there. Like, that's just what I would have done. It was Dakota. It's always going to be Dakota. The worst location, Dak. Well, you guys think that the universe got its revenge on Dak from the body cooler, which was really okay. I get that. I do, but he should have gone in the basement.
Well, he has to go to Sweet Springs by himself now, though. So
that's true. I forgot about that.
Yeah. Okay. So it's coming.
Retracting my statement.
It'll happen.
Retracting my statement.
Don't worry.
Alex should have gone. Alex is the second one on the shit list. It's like, all right, Dakota, he's out. Alex.
We're gonna send Al somewhere else.
Yeah, he's got to go somewhere. Somewhere just as scary. Trans-Allegheny.
I feel like Al should go back to ISS alone, but that's fine.
Oh, that's a good idea. Actually, that's not that bad of an idea.
Yeah.
But while Tanner was down there, and the reason why I stated that he was more seasoned is because he was asking a lot more deeper, more detailed questions in comparison to when they first started doing like Destination Fear and investigating. They were asking pretty basic surface level questions like, who are you? How did you die? Like, just basic questions. But I can't recall the exact deeper questions that he was providing in more detail, but it was just like a longer sentence. Like, I know that you died here. I want to know why you are blah, 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 blah. Like, it was kind of like that kind of thing. And so I just feel like that really puts a spotlight on the emphasis of the fact that they've been doing this a while, man. They've been doing this a while. So I'm glad that they waited that amount of time before going back to Sweet Springs, because I feel like they were able to do it justice in the long run, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I do want to point out that, like, so Tanner in the basement, you know, and he has the Ovilus with him, and I love the Ovilus.
I do too. It's just so great.
And he's like, I could have swore I heard something run, and the Ovilus was like paranormal.
It's like, but, yeah, thank you.
Yeah, you're like, got it, cool. But the other three were up on the third floor again, right? Because I think, didn't they go to room 3007?
Yeah, I think it was something like that.
And they had the digital recorder, and they caught, what did they catch, Mads? I remember Tanner.
Yep. And that is so fucking scary. And Tanner has no idea that it said that until later on, which is wild.
But he was hearing shit in the basement, like, right as it happened.
Yeah, which is scary. Like, that correlation right there, I mean, wow.
I'm gonna be honest with you. Because they end up telling Tanner after he comes out of the basement, right? I don't know if I was Tanner and then I heard they were like, I remember you, I would probably just leave. I'd just walk out.
To be honest, like, they made the call. Like, Chelsea, Dakota, and Alex made the call to tell him because they felt like he wanted to know. But to be honest, right here on this podcast, if something said that about me, do not tell me until the night's over.
Okay. Fair enough.
Because
I would just leave.
I think I would do the same to you, because it would just be better. Ignorance is bliss.
Yeah.
So, like, I can't be extra, ultra, mega terrified if I don't know what just happened.
Yeah.
You know, you can be terrified for me, and that's just the call that I'm making. Like I stated, they were making the call that they thought Tanner would prefer. But yeah, no, I wouldn't have wanted to know. I feel like I would have been too focused on my own fear that I wouldn't have been able to investigate and do the place justice. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, like, for the rest of the night, you'd be like, what the fuck? They remember me? Like, what?
Yeah. I'd be pretty freaked out. I'd have it in the back of my mind the whole time. But here's the cool thing, though, is that while Dakota, Alex, and Chelsea were up there, and so they were using the digital recorder, and then we see for the very first time with this crew the spirit box.
Yep. So
why is that?
Because of Kevin Spacey. They reconvene and they all four go back down to the basement and they bust out the spirit box.
Yeah, which I love the spirit box.
Well, I will tell you, this is probably one of my favorite spirit box sessions that they've had, though.
Oh yeah.
Because this ghost was all over the place. The spirit just straight up cussing and all sorts of things we're about to talk about in like 2 minutes here, but
I know, it was wild.
Yeah, so they were like all in the basement, and then they're like, what do you not like about us? And it goes, tea. And I was like, oh, so it's a Fear Fan member, because like a lot of us Tanner tea. And then, why are you picking on Tanner? And it's all, Jesus. And then Tanner's like, oh, I have this cross necklace and I was wearing it in season 1 too. And then they're like, tell us why you don't like Tanner. And it's like, Christian. It does that creepy laugh thing.
Yes.
Yeah. And then Dakota's like, we're gonna move on if you don't talk to us. And then he just is like, I don't give a fuck.
It's like,
for me, it's so funny. It's like, shit, dude, okay. Tell me how you really feel. My gosh. I don't give a fuck.
I don't give a fuck. Like, okay, damn.
And then I think the crew was kind of just talking. They were like, did it just say that? And then you hear this, like, it sounds like Tanner's voice, but you can't really tell, like, what it's saying. And then it glitches out. And then the scream happened, which sounded like the scream from the first time back at Destination Fear.
It sure did.
You ask me. But it also, it just, what? Like, it sounded like Tanner and Chelsea.
Yep. It sounded exactly like them.
And then the spirit box dies. And then it shuts off. So anyways, that was wild.
Man. It's like, what is even happening right now?
Like, and that's chaotic.
That, my friends, is why we're like, this motherfucker, the spirit, is a mimic.
Yeah, because that was really loud. Sorry. Did I just blow your eardrums out?
No.
R.I.P. anybody listening with earphones.
R.I.P. bitch. R.I.P.
But yeah, it sounded like Tanner and then Chels. And we're like, yeah. That's why I was like, I think there's a mimic at Sweet Springs because what?
No, yeah, I 100% think that as well. And that actually ended up being like a trend throughout the Return to Terror episodes of Project Fear too. Because I was like, I remember making that observation when we were reviewing those episodes back, like when we first started this podcast. And that within itself is crazy. It's just kind of interesting that they started at Sweet Springs and then it just got progressively more mimicky throughout.
Yeah. Kind of makes you wonder if one of them has something attached to them.
I know. It makes me wonder too.
So in Project Fear, to give us more of the evidence, they do. First episode is the exploring. The second episode is the sleeping alone part. Sleeping alone episode. So Tanner got the second floor. Dak got the third floor. Al and Chelsea were in the basement. So Al had the slave quarters. Chelsea had the hospital again. Because that's where she was for Destination Fears. So I find that really interesting. It's like, I remember Chelsea. And then the sleeping alone gods put her in the same exact spot.
Yeah, that's just sad.
Wild. So Al was using the Ovilus. I think Dak had a digital recorder, Chelsea had an Ovilus, and Tanner had a bunch of REM pods.
Yes, I do recall that now.
Okay, so the one thing with Al that I thought was really interesting is he was like, use words to describe me. And the Ovilus said green, which he had a green sweater on, and his sleeping bag was green.
That's right.
I just found that one to be interesting. They didn't get any type of response like that in the Destination Fear episode.
No, they didn't. One of the super crazy concepts that I find mind-blowing is that, like, you know, sometimes we think that paranormal activity is residual energy, or maybe like we're hearing things that may not or may exist on the same timeline, but not, like stuff like that. But then we have real-time responses like that make me go, what is even happening in the spiritual realm? Like, right. Like, you think every time you think you have it figured out, something like that happens, and it's like, all right, well, that didn't add up to my thoughts, but you know.
So, like, back to the wailing thing though, you said Dakota heard a wailing sound, so that was literally like just a moment or two before the main event of the night, if you will. At least I think it was one of the main events.
Yeah, no, I agree, because I think I know exactly where you're going.
Which is, dun, 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 where Dakota caught the door closing.
Yeah.
But in our episode of Fear Babes, when we reviewed this the first time, I had a theory that Dakota heard the voice so that it would draw his attention towards that area so he would catch the door closing.
Right.
So I still stand by that.
I do too. Yeah, I agree with that 100%. It's just like so creepy. Like, because, and I've said this before, why movement is like my favorite thing to capture is because it is so rare. Like, a lot of times you'll get like voices and sounds, but when I say movement, I mean like doors shutting, things falling off a counter, things moving across the floor, like stuff like that, I find is my personal favorite evidence to capture.
Right.
You know? So I thought that was a really sick fucking capture on their part.
Yeah, it was for sure. And then Tanner had the REM pods were pretty active for him. Like, he was like, I think he had 2 or 3 of them, but he was going to go shut off the far one, and like right as he stood up, it started going off again. And he was like, what is going on?
It's like, your guess is as good as mine, homie.
Yeah, and then you have Chelsea and Al in the basement who are like totally separate areas, and then they both end up hearing noises, and then they end up being like drawn towards one another. So they do an Estes method together. And I thought that one was kind of funny because Alex kept talking and it kept going, shh.
Shh. I had that note too. And I'm like, something. See, that is why I think Alex is like an empath or something, or somebody that, like, I want to know his lore, like what he may feel, because every time he goes into locations, spirits are mean to him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because like when he's trying truthfully to talk to them, when they do like Estes methods, because at Madison Seminary, it happened again with an Estes method. He kept trying to talk, and the spirits just did not want him to. But during the Estes, they were like, "Who do you want to talk to?" Or like Alex was like, "Who do you want to talk to?" And they're like, "You know." And then he told it. He was like, "You can go find Tanner." Fuck, bro. Like,
see, that was so funny to me because it's like that right there.
He was like, "Do you want us to come find you?" And then it was like, "Where is?" And he's like, "You want to know where Tanner is?" And it was like, trying.
See, that's so scary. Something was sweet on Tanner.
Mm-hmm.
Sweet on him.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying, don't you?
Yeah.
Like they liked it.
I know.
Sometimes I'm like, does she know what that phrase means? Or like am I just... Okay, thank God.
No, because like it's like, oh, you would like Tanner? Weird. How weird of you.
Yeah, that's bold.
So
such an interesting
thing there. I don't know. Is there anything else we need to? I know we gotta wrap this up. So anything else we need to mention?
I think we did pretty damn good.
Okay. Sick. I guess the viewers will decide, but there's just a lot. There's a lot to unpack when you're reviewing 3 episodes total.
And see, the reason why we kind of sped through the Project Fear one is because we've already reviewed Project Fear's Sweet Springs episode. So if you guys would like to check that out, check out Season 1, Episode 2 of Fear Babes.
That one is pretty, personally for me, pretty iconic.
Yeah, it is. It is. And I know why.
Right out the gate, it's a very bold statement. So
yeah, you did. But it's fine. We're rocking with it.
I mean, is it still true? To be determined.
Is it still true to be determined? Absolutely fucking not. I'm just kidding.
TBD. Guess we'll find out. But yeah. So curious as to what y'all think of this formatting that we're trying this season 5. So please let us know by liking, commenting, and subscribing to our various different platforms. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. You can also find us on social media, Instagram, Facebook, X, and also Twitter. I will never get over that. We even have a TikTok. And yeah, so like, comment, subscribe, let us know what we're doing. Share your stories, share your memories from Destination Fear in that whole era. We would love to hear your comparisons to how they were and how they are now. Anything else?
Yeah.
Man?
I think you did pretty damn good. Check out our Patreon if you would like. All links are in the bio.
Especially to watch the makeup video that we did last night. Dude, I look like a goth person this morning. I could not get all the black off my eyes.
I look rough, but it's fine. It's okay. We had so much fun doing it, and we have other videos like that. We're starting to test the video feature because it's not that we're grannies. It's just that video is hard to figure out sometimes. So we're still figuring things out, but we had a great time, and that's all that really matters.
It's that, and if we're gonna go by the name Fear Babes, we have to look like babes. And I'm gonna tell you right now, 9:32 a.m. on a Saturday after staying up until freaking 1 a.m. That's not. Y'all would question why we call ourselves Fear Babes if you saw me right now.
Exactly.
I'll throw that out there.
Exactly.
Gotta stay on brand, homie.
100%. But check us out. And yeah, I think that this concludes a really great episode, in my personal opinion.
Okay, so yeah, with that, I guess we will bid you adieu. Goodbye.
Bye, babes. Yeehaw!
Goodbye, babies. Goodbye, beeps. Beeps and bubs. Babes and bubs.
Give me a smooch.